Have you seen the interview with the Bears' new quarterback's dad?
The arm wrestling guy?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, dude, he's on the sidelines, and this guy's like, I heard that you have a special talent. He's like, yeah, he's a world champion arm wrestler. And he's like, I brought a table, And this guy, the arm wrestler guy's like, joking. He's like, yeah, I brought a table here. I'll show you what it's like. He's like, and don't worry, I'm going to beat you. Everyone's good at something. This just happens to be mine. And then he goes on this list of one-liners with this guy that is some of the funniest things. Literally, I texted to the operations group, and it's like, we have to get this guy from Martinsburg to Barbersville somehow before he's really found.
One-liners? What's he
Oh,
talking
he would
about?
just say things like, while the guy was like trying to arm wrestle him, he's like, I just thought you'd be stronger than that. He's like, some people call me Tom, you can call me Dad. And it was just like humiliated this guy.
So he's had these in his repertoire.
Yeah, dude, he's freaking hilarious. It's one of the funniest interviews I've ever heard. You know that guy?
Let's go ahead and start.
Okay, sorry.
No, keep talking though.
What's his
Tyson Bagent.
Tyson Bagent. Did you see he from Martinsburg? He flew like half of Martinsburg to his first professional starting game. Said it cost him like $9,000 to fly like 30 people in for this game to Vegas.
His family.
Yeah,
I see.
Yeah, it was like a real special moment for him. So,
his dad, the arm wrestling guy.
Yeah.
Whenever I think about that, I always have this irrational fear that you're going to have so much pressure that it just snaps your arm in half. Like
I don't think that's the weak point in that system. I think you got your wrist and your elbow. It's going to go long before that does. But
just tear out a joint.
I would assume so. Yeah. What is the deal with your hoodie today? Are you a Reformed Bears fan? You've left Josh Allen and the Bills for the Windy City?
I have not abandoned the Bills.
Okay.
But no, I was just on a long trip for like 9 or 10 days. You know how I pack. I just started running.
You don't.
Right. I knew I was going to run out of clothes, so I just bought the shirt in a store so I could make it through. But I kind of like the Bears. They're all right.
Yeah. Have you worn that and anyone said anything to you yet?
Yeah. People say, Bears fan, and then I just let them down. No.
Oh, wow. Because there's been other times in your life where people have maybe thought that your shirt was a mention of something else. And
that did happen several times. It happens in airports a lot because I just don't care. I'll wear a Falcon shirt, Rams shirt, Raiders shirt, doesn't matter what it is.
Sure.
And, I'm embarrassed to tell the story. And if this person were to ever see this, I mean, I did this out of kindness. I was just trying to be a nice sport about it. I'm not trying to. But I had a Raiders shirt on, and this person that I ran into all the time at the same place. I don't even want to be too specific.
Sure.
They were a Raiders fan.
Okay.
And they wanted to talk about the Raiders all the time.
Yeah.
And I should have just the very first time said, I actually don't really know much about the Raiders. Sorry.
Yeah.
But I was just wanted to be nice. I was too nice. And I was just like, oh, yeah, I know. I hope they win. And then the next time it was, did you see that play against the Broncos? And they started going in all this deeper. And then I got in too deep. And I didn't know what to do.
Did you find yourself when you would see anything about the Raiders digesting a little bit of it so you would have something for the next interaction?
I didn't go that far.
I see.
I would have been willing to tell him, like, man, I'm sorry. I don't really know much about him.
Yeah. Do you remember Dunham's Sporting Goods? Are you familiar with that store?
Dunham's?
Yeah, Dunham's. It's kind of like a Dick's.
Sponsorship?
No, I don't think they have the money for that. They had T-shirts on sale. It was all the college T-shirts was on sale. And like you could get like 5 T-shirts for $25 or whatever. And I wore a medium. So I was just looking for any medium. I had no collegiate alliance. I was just grabbing shirts. One of them was an all gray T-shirt and just said Army across the chest. Okay?
Yeah.
Right? Again.
I like that T-shirt.
It's
I've
a
had
cool
that T-shirt in life, right?
So I'm at the gym. I've ran one day, and I'm walking out, and this very nice man who's working out there, he turns around. He's like, "Hey, where'd you serve?" And I froze, and I, number one, had no idea why he was asking that because I was not aware of the T-shirt I was wearing at the time. And so I looked down real quick, and I realized what I've done. And I told him, I was very honest with him and said I had not served, but that my nephew had, and he had given me this shirt.
Oh, you said that instead of that you bought it?
I couldn't tell him I just bought it. So it was a special moment between me and him.
Let me ask you a serious question because I already admitted I've had that T-shirt too, and
Yeah.
it's been a long time, but it just looks cool.
Yeah.
And I can view that as like I'm supporting the Army.
That's how I wasn't trying to pretend I was in the military. It's
But
just,
does that? Are you implying you're in the service?
I
if
don't
you
know.
Wear that?
I mean,
Is that? Would you take that way?
when I wear a Cleveland Browns shirt, I don't think people think I play.
Right.
I just don't put enough thought into that. Apparently, I don't know. Yeah, it was pretty awkward. I felt bad, and then I never wore the shirt again. But
Are you wanting me to tell my story
no, I not want you to tell
from
me
the
this.
Ironton Day Parade? Is that where you're going?
Did something happen at the Ironton Memorial Day Parade that would bear repeating? Let me set the stage for this.
No.
I live on the historic Memorial Day Parade route. And if anyone Googles this is a true story. I know I joke a lot on here. Ironton has the longest continuous running Memorial Day Parade in American history. They've never missed a year. They have this, and it goes right past my house. It's hours and hours long. And you and Sarah were kind enough to come down this year and enjoy the parade with the Ironton community in my tree lawn in front of my 1865 Victorian home.
Yep.
Right? And you decided, because it was Memorial Day, to wear what?
I wore a shirt.
Okay.
It was an Oakland Raiders long sleeve shirt that
Yeah.
was supportive of the troops, right?
Yeah.
And I thought I was doing a nice thing because I knew that a lot of people would have on stars and stripes, just America type stuff. I was like, this is Memorial Day. Those that have lost their lives in the service, I want to wear something that relates to the military, right? So, the mistake I made was the shirt had a ribbon on the sleeve that indicates that if you wear this, you've actually served.
Wow.
And in the parade, I'm sitting there on the street curb, and
You put yourself right up front in this parade.
God,
Yeah.
it was so bad, embarrassing, man. And I have not served in the I've never had no service in the military, but I was just trying to be supportive. But it had the symbol on there.
Yeah.
And in the middle of the parade, the first time it happened, a lady. A lady who was in the, I don't know which branch, but she was in the military, left her spot in the parade line,
Yeah.
walked right over to my chair. I see her coming, extends a hand and just says, "Welcome home, brother."
Brother.
I'm not trying to be a counterfeit liar here.
Absolutely.
At the same time, I don't know that this is the moment that requires an explanation of how I just didn't mean to wear a shirt that would indicate that the parade's moving. She's already walked. I was just kind of was like, thank you.
Thank you.
I don't
Is
know if
what
I
you-
actually said thank you, but maybe I said nothing. I was really embarrassed. Plus, your entire family is in the yard and the porch behind watching what's happening right here.
This Memorial
They know
Day
better too,
exchange.
and I wanted to fall into the ground. I was
Yes.
so mortified. And then a couple feet behind her, however, was her young little girl.
Okay.
She also followed her mom's lead and came over just to shake my hand. And at that point, I started to just roll the sleeve up and make sure that it wasn't. It was really embarrassing,
Yeah.
dude. Like, I mean, I didn't mean to do that.
Well, I'm glad you got that out.
Yeah,
know-
I needed to say
Yeah,
it, I
we needed
guess.
to clear the air on that because that was. Isn't it funny how? I mean, I know sometimes you dress with a purpose, but I'll wear things and not even realize it. Like, it's not uncommon if I have a Browns hoodie on and someone in passing stores like, "Go Browns!" I'm like, what? Like, I don't even think of it in that way. So yeah, it's clothing's an interesting thing. What does it represent? I suppose. So you got to be careful.
What have you been up to lately? You want to talk a little work or just no?
Man, I mean, what have I been up to lately? Let me tell you what I've been up to lately.
Okay.
Village caregiving stuff. It has been a really busy season at Village Caregiving. By the time this airs, our annual meeting has occurred in Nashville. Mm-hmm. Who is receiving Office of the Year is going to be announced.
I cast my vote this morning.
Wow.
Tough freaking decision, by the way.
For the first time ever, we're live in person. We're going to have Caregiver of the Year awarded. We're doing a live podcast event from there. When I say live, it's just mics are hot and people's passing by. Still trying to figure out exactly the logistics on that.
College game day style.
Very much. Several people have said they're making signs, so I don't even know how that works.
We might have to bump this up before the meeting.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We'll have to see
All
what
we're doing
happens.
right now is really recapping the meeting. I
Yeah,
think.
that
Even
is
though
not-
to us right now it's a preview of the
Yes.
meeting.
But no, yeah, obviously, I mean, working on a ton of projects to lead into 2024. And we've got massive construction projects occurring at the home office right now to expansion projects to make room for future growth. Just a lot of things happening right now. It's been very, very busy. What have you been into?
Well, let me ask you this first.
Yeah, go ahead.
When you were voting for the awards, so now this is after the meeting, there are people that may listen to this and maybe they won an award. There's some that did not, and I hope that their feelings aren't hurt or they don't, begrudge us that, because everybody is deserving of these awards. So when I'm casting, what I was going to ask you is when I was casting my votes, I mean, I am just splitting hairs to the point like there are 5 offices or people that I could choose between right here. It's so hard. Did you submit your votes yet for this?
Well, I did cheat a little bit.
You cheated?
A little bit.
What?
I'm not ashamed to say this. So I have the
You
benefit.
voted for yourself?
Yes, I wrote myself in. I have to win something.
Yeah.
No. So what I did was the operations team as a group filled out their ballots individually, and then as a group I combined those, and whatever our operations team decided was the vote from our team.
Very democratic of you.
Yeah, I thought so. And it was really cool. Several of them were the same thing, and this was different people from different regions, different backgrounds. So it was really cool to see some of the standouts. So.
There were a few that I had to leave blank because I just flat out don't even think that my opinion should matter.
Sure.
When it comes to onboarding, for example,
Yeah.
the HR team and some of the compliance team know so much more about that. I'm like, your vote should count 10 times what mine does. So
Yeah.
I don't even want to put that on there. But I really hope if people are listening to this, that no joke, that they left there and thought that it was in a good spirit and good fun. And there are so many, and I'm sure that I'm going to say this at the meeting, and if you're listening, I've already said it, but I meant it. That so many people are worthy of those awards, and we just don't get to. That's not how awards work.
Sure.
You can't just give one to everybody, or it devalues it a little bit. But they really are. Everybody deserves stuff. We have such a tremendous bunch of offices and people that I almost kind of feel bad filling it out.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'll tell you what is so cool. What's special about this time of year is we recently requested years of service list we recognize every year people that have been here for 1 year plus. Mm-hmm. And to see how much that list has grown, folks that get on the bus and stay on the bus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10, like it's insane. It is a really neat thing to see. And so we always buy a gift, to present with that every year. And so to see how long that list is getting, because people that are coming over are staying a really, really long time. I think that's a good measurement or a KPI, as Ben would say, to how the organization's health is, because people are choosing to stay here a long time.
Yeah. Really no better compliment.
Yeah. How was the HCOA conference in Chicago? I haven't talked to you much since you got back from that. That's the kind of the industry-wide conference that was held in Chicago this year.
Yeah, they had a really diverse and interesting slate of speakers. Met a lot of people from the industry, a lot of our competitors, which when you go to a thing like that, they don't feel like competitors at all. They're more friends and colleagues that are out there trying to accomplish the same mission that we are.
Sure.
Met the new CEO of the association, Jason Lee, who was replacing Vicky. And Mr. Lee, really, really bright guy, real approachable, nice, too, and super down to earth. He's a big, he's a University of Texas grad, football fan, so we talked a lot of football. And
does he know Matthew McConaughey?
He might.
I'm trying to get 1 degree of separation from Matthew McConaughey. Danielle my wife was at the fountain in We Are Marshall as an extra. So I felt like that was probably my closest connection to Matt. But now if you're saying Mr. Lee maybe has sideline tickets to a Texas game,
Yeah.
Matt's there, I call Mr. Lee while he's next to Matt, we potentially get that thing going.
You a McConaughey fan, eh?
Huge.
Really?
Yeah.
I like him too.
That's fantastic.
I like the book Green Lights as much as any movie he's ever made, honestly.
I try to show me something I don't like about that guy. I got an album, just him drumming on the congas.
Oh,
I'm just kidding. I don't
that
have
can't be right. I don't think that album exists unless you were outside his window with a recorder. No, you know, how did we get on this? Oh no,
I was
Jason
asking about
Lee.
the conference. Yeah.
No, he. It's funny because it's not just you can meet in that professional setting and somebody starts talking about football, right?
Yeah.
It becomes pretty clear to a sports fan, and I'm just using this as an example. It's not that sports is any more important than anything else, but if they really know what they're talking about, or if they've just heard a few lines here and there, and they're trying to sound like they know what they're talking about, that guy actually truly loves some football and other sports and everything else he talked about. He wasn't an imposter on anything. He's just, you can tell he's well-rounded, interesting, real humble, down-to-earth guy. I liked him a whole lot, and I think he'll be a great leader for the association as a whole. Feel comfortable with where, his vision for the future, and that we're in good hands with who's representing us.
Awesome. So Village Caregiving sent a delegation there, much like the UN. We sent a team up there, yourself, Ben, Matt. It goes there. You guys look high and low. You open doors. You look under tables. Did you find anyone in the home care space more capable than Village Caregiving while you were there?
Oh, don't put me on the
Stop
spot
it.
like
Go
that.
for it.
That's not what the meeting is about. I mean, what am I going to start interrogating other folks about how good their organization is? They were nice
Absolutely.
people.
Look around. I want to know what they drive. I want to know how they were
feel
dressed.
confident that we do as good a job as anyone, but I'm not going to denigrate their work. There are a lot of good companies out there for
Absolutely.
sure.
Who do you think's the worst? I'm just kidding with you. Yeah, I'm just joking. No, but was it was it a cool experience? Did you get a lot of value out of it? I know a year ago when you guys went to Florida, you found a lot of value in that conference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Ben and Matt and I went.
Yeah.
I compare it mostly to a UN delegation. I think
Absolutely.
you're right. Yeah. No, it was a good time. A lot of the so there were breakout sessions. You could choose which ones to go to. So Ben and Matt and I, we never went to the same. Well, one time we went to the same lecture because we just really wanted to hear that one. But normally we would just split up so that we could come back and sort of share what we heard in each one. So they have 3 or 4 different ones going on pretty much all the time. There's a ton to consume there. Really well-run conference. They had a guest speaker that was the keynote. I bet she cost a lot.
Oh,
She was, New York Times bestseller, real high-energy, good speaker. But no, it's a real professionally run conference at a top-notch place in Chicago. It's a good deal.
Recently I was doing some research and listening. I try to absorb as much information about the home care space as I can, and I don't want to not know something about it if something pops up or we end up in a conversation. And something I'm not super techie. I don't lean into AI a ton. I need to do it more. I think it's here to stay. So trying to figure out how AI is impacting the home care industry and stuff. And so I was listening to this podcast, and one of the hosts in the home care space has been in it for about a decade. Kind of a similar story to Village Caregiving, but very regional, not really broken outside of their service area much. And they were referencing the season that they went through during the pandemic, really starting late 2020, and really kind of saying they're just now coming out of it. But they're in a market that we're in, that we've seen a lot of growth in and a lot of opportunity. And they've been in this market exclusively for quite a while. And they were talking about that during the pandemic time, that hiring was, the term that they used was impossible, that there was no one to hire and they could not grow during that season. And I couldn't help, because I was here at Village Caregiving. We were seeing annual growth trends that were just, there was such a need at the time, and still is, but especially during the pandemic, so many people were staying at home. And what they described was so different than how I would have described that season. And I'm like, how are we doing the same thing? We're in the same space. And they even reference this on their podcast. They're like, a lot of home care agencies hire the same people. They mentioned what their reimbursement rate is. It was similar to ours in that market. Like, there were so many similarities. And I'm like, what is the difference between those two home care agencies?
Well, it was harder during the pandemic, but it certainly was not impossible. That's a gross exaggeration. It wasn't, as you just said. So did you come to a conclusion? What was the difference?
I think it was a leadership mindset.
And explain.
I think that a lot of times when we're given situations, the tire is flat on the car and we're on the interstate. What options do we have? I could just sit here, hope that someone comes along. I could try to change it. I could try to flag someone. Like, we have options, right? And I think during the pandemic, there was options that companies could make. And what do we do at this time? Right now in the news, FedEx is overstaffed on pilots. American Airlines is understaffed on pilots. Okay, FedEx knows if something doesn't change in the near future, they're going to have to lay off pilots. So they brokered a deal with American Airlines that if you will come over, we will let you skip a bunch of the interview process and get preferred sign-on bonus with us. And FedEx is looking down, realizing we're not going to be able to keep all these pilots. So we're going to broker a deal with American Airlines, treat people with good dignity and respect, plan ahead, and do a soft handoff to this staff, knowing that when time comes, they may come back. And I think that companies in situations are given options and how they respond. I remember when the pandemic happened, all of us were worried, all of us were scared. We weren't sure how it would impact our industry. Our job during the pandemic was to send people to people's homes. And the one thing that we were told not to do at that time was to go around people that didn't live with us. So that was pretty counterintuitive to what we do.
Right.
But there was such a need that existed, and we found ways to do it safely. And I think that companies were given options at that point. Do we pull back? Do we push forward? Do we try to live in this new environment, or do we not? And I just kind of felt in that conversation on that podcast where you could just kind of sense they had a lot of reasons to not grow. We could have had the same reasons, but we saw huge opportunities. Maybe also we incentivize differently. Maybe it's part of how our offices are set up and how we're just generally organized as a company. I'm sure there's differences, but I mean, this seems like a great company that I'm referring to. They're good people, good retention.
Well, and I don't know who you're even talking about, so clearly I'm not taking any shots at them. But sometimes I do wonder, okay, so I own a home care agency, let's say, right? Mm-hmm. And I've got a director in this city. Yeah. And then I've got one 100 miles up the road in this city and another 100 miles down the road over here. These three people, really, if you don't incentivize them right, or you don't have a culture of teamwork and we're all in this together and build each other up, and they don't value where they work that much. There's one foot out the door. They're going to work and they're looking on Indeed to see what else is out there.
Right.
The people that we have to contrast that, I feel like, are all in on this, and we do have a good culture, and it is teamwork. But if you don't have that, okay, go back. Those three people I just described, what incentive do they have to go out and get creative and beat the bushes and try to hire all these people? If they hire more people and can take more clients, all that means is they just made their job harder.
Yeah.
There's more hours to schedule every single day. There's more pieces to move around. It's a hell of a lot easier. I'll just sit here and say, well, COVID's come, the pandemic, I can't hire anybody. And all of a sudden, I only have to schedule 2,500 hours instead of 4,500.
Yeah.
Easy excuse. We don't have a culture of that at all, and I mean that as a big compliment to our directors who go out there and they give all of themselves for all the right reasons. And it goes back to what you're saying. They want to stay here. So
yeah,
when you think about it like that, it starts to make the point of that's the most important thing that we can do is create an environment where people want to be, because then it leads to all the other stuff. And I was having this conversation with somebody in the company just the other day who was telling me, I had heard a lot about culture, and we use that word a lot. We probably overuse it sometimes. I bet people get sick of hearing it.
We went on a culture tour one time.
You're right. Are you the ambassador?
I was the cultural ambassador at one point for our delegation.
That's right. And I'm your sidekick on it, right? So we think about that a lot. But they were telling me, this person, they had worked more in a financial background, and whenever we talked about culture, I was just like, I don't relate to this. I'm tired of hearing about it. Not that sure. Meanly, but just kind of like, I don't get this. Like, I'm a numbers person. I want to hit our marks, our goals, and not all this feel-goody type stuff. But they said that they had just recently, from reading different materials and kind of living it now with village caregiving, finally it clicked with them, like, man, this is that big of a deal. This is a real thing. It's not just feel-good stuff. And I love hearing that. And we had this conversation where I was explaining kind of how I view that is right. The culture of the company and creating a place where people want to be, they do everything right. That right there is the same. The analogy to me is that's like raising your kids to do the right thing and be good people and work hard and have good values, right?
Yeah.
They might go make an A on their math test. They might get 3 hits in their Little League game. Those are good things. That's like us hitting a revenue number or opening a new office, metrics that you can hit. But just like the kid, making the A on the test and getting the Little League hits and stuff, that's secondary. That's a result of if you raise them right, teach them to be good people and work hard and give effort and do all the right things. That's the same thing that I view culture as. I just want to make sure that we do everything right. We have good processes, and then all that other stuff, it just takes care of itself. I don't ever get caught up looking at how much money we made in Iowa last month. I don't care. Yeah, I don't worry about that. That's the complete opposite of how I look at it. Let's just do the right things and work hard and do all those values, and all that other stuff will handle itself.
Well, I think next year they should have you as the keynote speaker. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I'd do it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'd be interesting to anybody, but I'd give it a whirl.
I could probably work it out with Mr. Lee if he could get Matt on the line with me. I could get you on the line with them, and I could get that worked.
Do I get to charge a fee, you think?
It's not. I don't want to get ahead of myself here. It depends what's going on with Matt that day.
Are you going to take a cut of my fee?
No, I just need a couple minutes, Matthew McConaughey, just see how life's going for him and stuff.
I think I might be able to make that happen, believe it or not. Uh-huh.
Is he here?
He's not here. I'm just kidding. He is here. Matthew. He's not here. But yeah. These degrees of separation, I've just recently got it down to 1.
Really? Mm-hmm. You're pretty close to this guy.
I can't disclose. I'll tell you offline.
Yeah, Woody Harrelson. You and Woody's hanging out.
No, I'm not even saying that. That implies that who knows what we're up to.
Well, man, how with village caregiving right now, we're obviously in some transitional periods. We was talking with Ben the other day about as we kind of are growing and becoming this thing, and we're adding new people to the home office. We have a ton of people. Our Cleveland team was in not long ago, right? And they're at the home office, and they're talking about not only does it just look different, but there's so many new faces, so many people in different offices when they weren't there just months ago when they.
I've done it again. Go ahead.
It's an unbelievable.
They weren't there a month ago.
Yeah. And we were joking the other day about some goals for the organization, and we were talking about like what that would look like years from now. And you were like, this thing would have to go through 2, 3, maybe 4 more full changes before we got there, right? When we look back over 23, have we gotten where you were hoping this thing would get? Have we checked the boxes you were hoping to check?
Oh, we've exceeded that, sure. We were talking about this. Sarah's in here right now. Last night with our son Cameron. It's this quote has gone around the internet a lot lately. So I'm not breaking any news here, but it's a true thing. People underestimate what they can accomplish, or I'm sorry, they overestimate what they can accomplish in 1 year, and they drastically underestimate what they can accomplish in 10 years. Sometimes the quote says 7 years. And I think they've started to ascribe it to Bill Gates, but it's been around so much, I'm not even sure who said it. Anyway, the point's right. In 1 year's time, it's hard to do a whole lot. And that's why whenever we have strategy and planning sessions, we're talking about stuff. How long is it taken to get the CRM out? 18 months plus? It's a year and a half. Stuff takes time. But oddly, in 10 years, you underestimate what you can accomplish. I mean, the company's only 10 years old.
Right.
So it's so hard, and we were explaining this to Cameron, to see your life in 10 years from now. It's something that humans we just can't hardly do.
Yeah.
So when I try to imagine what we can accomplish in 10 years, dude, I mean, it's great. The sky really is the limit. But that's to your point. What I said was that to get to that point, though, the structure of the organization, what we look like and how we operate, that won't just change. It will change, and then it will change again, and then it will change a third time, and then it will change a fourth time.
Yeah.
That's going to be several iterations of this. And every one of those will feel overwhelming. Like, oh, my God, we can't do all of this. It's just too big a lift. It's too much. This is insane. Let's not. And then you do it once, and then you do it again, and a third time, and then all of a sudden 10 years went by, and you don't even recognize what this thing is, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
In the same way we could look back now 10 years ago, and it's so when you ask me, is this where we hope to be? Nah, I mean, I couldn't even really imagine it that well. Right? I mean, what about you? What do you think in 10 years could be accomplished?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, it looks so different. I'll cross over the 5-year mark in the coming months, and looking back from, we were at the Ashland office a couple of weeks ago. I had the operations team down there. That office is going through the transformation. We're adding some programs there. They required just the physical building itself to adapt. And while there, we're going through some memory. Like, this was where my desk sat, and this is where that guy came in that day looking for bus tickets, and I just like crazy stuff. And but I wasn't there when you guys opened that building a year and a half prior to me walking in, and what that felt like. And Ben saying that when we met with the building planner, they said you have to have a parking spot for every employee. And Ben's like, well, I got to go back to Fifth Third Bank then. Like, that's not in the cards for us. So I got to go back to my old job. And it's like to see where just in that 5 years that thing has gone to, and how different it looks.
Yeah. Whenever Anna Lahan was on just a couple weeks ago, I haven't told you this yet, but you made a comment during that there. The two of you said we used to work on the same floor.
Yeah.
When you said that, I didn't say anything, but I was like, did they really? Right now, I know where your office used to be upstairs.
Yeah.
She was in that middle area?
Yeah.
I remember Chris being back there.
Yeah, no.
She sat at the desk that Kate is at right now.
She sat at Danielle's desk.
Danielle's desk? Okay.
Yeah, Danielle.
See what I mean, man? It's so hard to go back in time, and so much can change so fast like that. And then you stack 10 years on top of it.
Well, do you remember, because when Anna first came over, her and Danielle got on a Zoom together, and it looked like big sister, little sister, because Danielle was just the way their chairs were anyways, but they were, right there in that hallway together for, I don't know, weeks before we finally got their office space organized. And it's like, I mean, with Chandler used to work upstairs in the hallway. Do you remember that? When he first came over, he worked where the copier is upstairs, then finally moved downstairs.
So Anna worked in that same spot where he did?
Yeah, Anna worked in there. Chris worked in Ben's hallway.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is like I'm landing on my 5th workspace since I've been with the company.
Yeah, well, you keep voluntarily changing yours.
I try to make room for everyone new, man. I know how special it is when you walk in and you have your own space, and so
I'm on my second office in 17 years. So
Yeah.
I'm more of a creature of habit, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Well, cool, man. I think it's been wonderful. I mean, I think at some point this year we'll look back and try to figure out like what was the best thing that was accomplished, what was the best memory of the year type stuff. It's been, I mean, we joke about like real years and village caregiving years. It's so wild, but it's such an opportunity.
Dog years.
Yeah.
It's like young Callie over there at the house where you live.
Did I tell you that she got puppy of the day at the veterinarian the other day?
Really?
Oh, star student. They didn't even put her in a kennel. She hung out up front with everyone.
All-star dog.
Yeah. When you're talking about culture and stuff, that made me think of that. Not my children. They're good too.
She follows your lead in the house?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll say, I'm like, guys, it's time to go to bed. Callie goes straight to bed. My children just stare at me. I'm like, how does she know and you two don't? I just don't understand. But whatever. It's a thing.
Could you just say the word dog for me one time?
You know what? It's my accent. They were giving me a hard time in here. Dog. There you go.
Oh, I love the way you say it. It's my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah. Do you think I could have had a career in newscasting?
Yes.
Would you listen to me and trust me in telling you the news?
Dude, I listen back to the podcast just for you.
Okay. Thank you. With Sarah in the room, this feels uncomfortable.
Oh. Well, I mean, I just meant you're funny. You sound nice. I don't know. Jeez.
Let me hit you with this.
Okay.
Citizens, this is Aaron Gustin. We have breaking news from the Pentagon that southern Florida must be evacuated. Leave your belongings, get in your vehicle, and start traveling north. If you heard that, are you getting in the car and heading north?
Yeah, because you have a voice that I would trust.
You're like, this guy's not lying.
It sounds really genuine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just curious. I'm not really trying to pursue that.
Don't pull that stunt on me. I don't want to start driving north one day because I just blindly trust.
If I ever catch you in South Florida, I'll try to evacuate you.
Well, yeah. So I like when you say we could have a food truck just slinging slaw dogs. That's my favorite. I love it.
Man,
I love it.
Yeah. Well, man, I always enjoy getting together. I think we'll do a couple more of these here at some point. And I think we have some really interesting guests that are in the pipeline. It sounds like potentially Matthew McConaughey.
I'll work on that.
Okay.
You think I'm joking around?
Do me a favor and don't tell me.
Oh, that would be so great. Wouldn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. But every time you tell me we have a surprise guest, I'll just naturally assume it's finally Matthew McConaughey.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all right. Well, man, I guess at this point, cheers to a new year.
Cheers, buddy.
Clink.